Welcome to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise25 Media. We feature top founders, executives, and business leaders from all over the world.
Chad Franzen here, co-host for this show where we feature top restaurateurs, investors, and business leaders. This is part of our SpotOn series. SpotOn has the best-in-class payment platform for retail, and they have a flagship solution called SpotOn Restaurant where they combine marketing, software, and payments all in one. They've served everyone from larger chains like Dairy Queen and Subway to small mom-and-pop restaurants. To learn more, go to SpotOn.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise25. We help B2B businesses to get ROI, clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships through Done-For-You podcasts. If you have a B2B business and want to build a great relationship with clients, referral partners, and thought leaders in your space, there's no better way to do it than through podcasts and content marketing. To learn more, go to rise25media.com or email us at support@rise25media.com. Micha Magid is co-founder and co-CEO of Mighty Quinn's BBQ. He started his career on Wall Street doing mergers and acquisitions for JP Morgan. He made an investment in Mighty Quinn's in 2012, and it turned into a full-time job. Mighty Quinn's currently has 8 locations, 4 in New York, 3 in New Jersey, and 1 in Dubai, along with 5 other arena locations. Bolt Ventures recently invested in Mighty Quinn's, and now the brand is ready to expand nationally and expects to end 2022 with 19 locations in various formats. Micha, thanks so much for joining me today. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, so tell me a little bit about Mighty Quinn's, maybe a brick and mortar location. What can a customer expect when they go there?
Sure. So Mighty Quinn's is really one of the first restaurant brands to offer an authentic barbecue experience in a fast casual format. So if you think about the efficiency of how you get served when you go to, for example, like a Chipotle, we've basically used that to replicate for barbecue format. And unlike a lot of concepts that I think are really trying to kind of copy that kind of cafeterial style service, for us, it was very natural to the food that we're serving. Because if you think about barbecue, when meats are being smoked for in some cases a full day, all of that food is ready to go and ready to be served. So it kind of naturally lends itself to a service style that's fast casual, as opposed to coming from a kitchen in more of a tablecloth setting.
So I've never been to Mighty Quinn's, but I've been to like a Chipotle type place. You walk in there and you go to the line, and then what do you see?
Sure. So you're greeted by the meat cutter. So basically, the ordering is simplified by meat, sides, and drinks. So your first interaction will be with our meat cutter. Whatever you order is sliced right in front of you, whether it's pounds of food for a family or a big group, or just single servings for an individual meal. Then you'll go over to a side station where we have all of our hot and cold sides. If you do something like fries or wings, all that's fried fresh to order. And then make your way over to the drink section for craft beer or soda.
I looked at your website. The pictures on there look fantastic. What are some of the options that you could get, when you go to the meat cutter?
Sure. So brisket is what really put us on the map. When Hugh, our chef and pitmaster co-founder, started doing this in Brooklyn back in 2011, it was really 2 menu items. It was pulled pork and brisket, and lines formed, in some cases, 30, 40 minutes long for really just those 2 items. So that's what put us on the map, and I think even to today, are our biggest, sellers from a product mix standpoint.
So Mighty Quinn started in a tent at a weekend market in Brooklyn?
Yeah, that's right. So we weren't one of these, food truck to restaurant stores. It was truly a mobile pit on the back of a pickup truck, and we were doing service at a 10 by 10 tent at Smorgasburg, which was kind of this culinary food discovery event on the weekends on the waterfront in Brooklyn.
And then how did it kind of grow from there?
Sure. So I think the receptivity by New Yorkers for authentic barbecue, which I think didn't really exist at the time in the city, was tremendous. And that was really our proof of concept. So we used that to really validate, what we thought was that, this amazing cuisine category was missing from what's supposed to be, one of the most, diverse culinary capitals of the world. And we basically turned this into a brick and mortar operation in the East Village, so we can, open 7 days a week and obviously expand the menu. It was myself, my partner Chris Cormos, and then Hugh at the time.
So tell me a little bit more about your history then with Mighty Quinns. As I mentioned, you were working on Wall Street. How did you kind of get involved, and what happened from there?
Sure. It's a little bit of a family story. So Hugh is my stepbrother, and Chris is my brother-in-law. And Chris has been in the restaurant business basically his whole career. So what happened was, we thought that this idea had legs, as I mentioned, just from the long lines in Brooklyn. And, at the time, Chris came to the table with restaurant experience. Hugh was, obviously the man on the food side. And, I kind of brought more of a finance background to the mix. So we set up shop in the East Village, and 3 months after opening, we found ourselves on the cover of the New York Times dining section, and really the whole world changed for us after that.
Wow, what attracted the New York Times to you?
So unbeknownst to us at the time, they were there to rate us. So we actually got a 2.5 star rating from Pete Wells, and the accolades in 2013, which was our first full year of operations, were tremendous. New York Times added us to their top 10 restaurant openings in the city for 2013. Zagat actually gave us the #1 spot for best new restaurant in the city for that year. I mean, so just stuff you couldn't dream of, when you're opening up a new restaurant. It kind of all fell in our lap, and I think it really spoke to the beauty of what we were doing, in that kitchen. Slow smoking meats over nothing but oak, apple, and cherry wood. It was kind of a unique thing. It was simple, and if you think about the way that restaurant menus have become very streamlined, like we were, I think, a little ahead of that trend. By having a very simplified menu. At the time, we had about 7 meats, 7 sides and drinks, and that was really it.
As someone who was working on Wall Street, you had a good job. What made this opportunity in the restaurant industry appealing enough to leave?
Sure. So, I spent time on Wall Street, both like in an advisory capacity and then on the investment side. And, we really invested across many different industries. And the one thing that always attracted us to opportunities was scalability. It's great to have successful economics in a product, but are you able to achieve great ROIs as you scale that to a larger size? And often the answer to that question is no. But with Mighty Quinn's, we saw just a tremendous white space opportunity. This lack of great barbecue in the city was something that we saw that really existed across urban and even suburban locations all over the country. So that really checked off a lot of the boxes when we're kind of looking at where can this brand go, what's the opportunity set, and can we do this in a profitable and sustainable way? And I think the answer to all those questions were yes.
So where you may have mentioned it, where was your first brick and mortar location, and what were the early days there like?
Sure. Yeah, it was in the East Village. We're still there, the corner of Second Avenue and East Sixth Street. We have a 6,000 pound pit sitting right there in the dining room. And in the early days, like right when we opened, I think people knew us from Brooklyn, so we had kind of a cool local following. And then that was December of 2012, and then March of 2013. That's when that New York Times story came out, and I think that's what really attracted more of the city to come check us out. After that, it was one of those situations where we had lines down the block. We were basically selling out of food every night at 8 o'clock. It was a great problem to have, and that kind of set the stage for our growth, and brought us to where we are today.
And you didn't know the New York Times was coming,
No, no, we didn't. We absolutely didn't.
and
No.
you didn't know they were. Did you know they were there at the time?
We knew there was something that was going to be written because they requested that their photographer come by to take some pictures, without any kind of backstory to that appointment. So we knew something was coming, but we never would have thought it was going to be that.
Wow. So when did you know that you were ready to expand, beyond that location?
Um, well, kind of the eureka moment. I think, well, at least for me, I was sitting at my desk and I got a text from Hugh, I think with the link to the story on the Times. And I just kind of remember, scanning through it and being a little bit dumbfounded when I saw kind of like, the picture and the just the length of the story. It wasn't like a blurb, it was like a full on, cover story. So that was, I think, the spark that I think for all of us, that we said, okay, wow, like this is some pretty amazing recognition that we got off the bat. Where can we take this? And I think that story then, allowed us to have much more, substantive conversations with landlords to take on, an up and coming new brand. And that allowed us to open, down on Wall Street, and we came, the Upper East Side. We also, jumped the river and opened up in New Jersey. And then from there, we just seeing the scalability of what we were doing. That's when we decided to start franchising.
What would you say is the key to having success? Being, you were successful in one location. What's the key to having success then in multiple locations?
So it's something that's probably very common when you talk to any multi-unit operator, and it's the word you always hear, which is consistency. We think about consistency a little bit differently. Of course, we want the food and the service to be, to Mighty Quinn's brand standard. But when you think about the formats of our restaurants, they all don't have to comply to, one cookie cutter box. We'll have, a 600 square foot, no dining room location down on Wall Street. We're about to open one in Hoboken that is basically, a POS first ordering experience, like you do kind of like at a Shake Shack. So we're definitely molding the format as we see the market evolve. So while the food and the service should always stay the same, going forward, I definitely think you'll see us in new formats, in new areas, and I think that's what excites us, being able to kind of take the core tenets of the brand and adapt them to different real estate.
How did the location in Dubai come about?
So Dubai, we were approached by a hospitality family out of Saudi, and they wanted to basically, they always traveled to New York for business and pleasure, and experienced Mighty Quinn's down at our Brookfield location, and really thought that nothing like this existed, in Dubai, where they were opening up a couple other restaurants. So, at the time for us, this was probably 5 years ago. We thought it would be a cool opportunity to see if we were able to kind of replicate and teach our process. Obviously, Dubai being very far, if we could do it in Dubai, on the other side of the planet, we could probably do it, in the next state, right? So for us, it was a little bit of a test case, and we definitely had a lot of things that we learned from that experience. It was also the foundation for our training program. So it was really just a matter of us taking a little leap of faith. We knew that if it didn't work out, there wasn't really tremendous downside for our brand, here in New York. So for us, it was kind of like an all upside opportunity.
Where are some? I mentioned you had 5 arena locations. Where are some of those?
Sure. We have one in Yankee Stadium, 2 in Madison Square Garden, and then we just recently opened in the Prudential Center in Jersey, and the newly opened UBS Arena in Long Island.
What are some of the benefits of having, those types of visible arena locations?
Yeah, so obviously, when you have 20,000 ticketed event, I mean, just the eyeballs on your brand for people that may have never heard of us is great marketing. In addition, we're able to offer a very streamlined menu, so just the ease of operations is very different versus a traditional restaurant. And then I think, like, as these arenas have really upped their game, the entertainment's always been top notch, but I think people got tired of like the burgers and chicken tenders offering at some of these arenas, so they've really brought in local brands. And now you have a true experience, right? You have great entertainment. You have an amazing food experience. The hospitality side is there. You don't feel like you're eating, frozen, reheated food. So I feel like being part of that evolution in, in-person entertainment has been great.
How has COVID affected or changed things for you guys?
COVID, I think, for us, just like the rest of the restaurant industry, it was very much a shock to the system. I think as we kind of are now almost, 2 years in the rearview mirror, while obviously, the COVID has been tragic, and it has actually caused us, some meaningful change in our organization. It's really helped us streamline everything we do. We really kind of burned everything down to the foundation, and really figured out, how do we maximize, every job function, every role, every project, with, maximum efficiency. And that allowed us to really figure out areas where we were spending money or areas where we were spending time that really wasn't, helping the organization grow. It wasn't making the entity worth more, or do better. So in that respect, it was somewhat of a cleansing for us. And I think for all the restaurant groups that are fortunate to have made it through the other side of this thing, I think a lot of people share that sentiment. The transition to digital ordering is something that's obviously already been in play. We've saw tremendous growth even before COVID. So this just kind of expedited that by a few years. And I think we're now seeing a, digital to in-store mix, probably, similar to what we would have seen in maybe 2022, 2023 anyway. It just brought the curve up a little steeper.
So you have some pretty big plans for expansion in the coming year. Tell me about those and what brought those on.
Yeah, so 2022 is going to be an exciting year. We have a lot of franchise partners that have signed up with us that are really ready to open. So we'll have one in Forest Hills, one in Union, and then we'll have down south in Tampa Bay. We're opening up a unit that will actually be our first drive-through location. And then after that, Columbus, Maryland will be probably late summer, and a couple other expansion opportunities. But yeah, so we'll have our hands busy with both corporate and franchise openings next year.
Are you guys looking for potential franchisees still?
Yeah, absolutely. And we think there's tremendous opportunity. Ideally we're focused kind of on the Northeast, corridor down through Florida. We want to be, near our operations as we kind of scale outward in kind of concentric circles. So definitely there's tremendous opportunities in these huge major metropolitan areas, between here and Florida. So, our conversations with franchisees continue, and we're definitely looking to sign up more players.
And then you guys also have products available at retail outlets in New York and New Jersey and Connecticut. Is that right?
Yeah. So, as part of COVID, we started, we've always done frozen mail order through Goldbelly. And then we decided to, we've always had requests for our sauce to be, bottled and sold at retail. So we kind of pushed that forward. So, we kicked this off probably in the spring, and we're currently in about 60 grocery stores. We have a bottled hot sauce, a barbecue sauce, and 2 dry rubs. And hopefully in the next coming months, we'll be, adding to that product mix.
By the way, talking about franchisees, what do you look for kind of when you're looking for a franchisee?
Sure. Like the ideal candidate is someone who comes to us with, hospitality or restaurant experience. We're very capable of teaching the Mighty Quinn system, but someone who already has that pedigree, that restaurant experience, it starts them off at such a higher probability of success. So there's that, being when we open up in new territories, we don't view ourselves as like the Mighty Quinns of New York opening in, X, Y, and Z. We definitely want to be the local spot for that neighborhood. So one of the things that's great about franchising is you have a local owner operator who's part of the community. It's not a hired GM who's, reporting to corporate, states away. So that's a very different dynamic. So for us, that restaurant experience, local market knowledge is huge. And then, thirdly, obviously the capital to open up a location and grow with us is important.
What has been the most gratifying thing or most fulfilling for you since shifting kind of from your Wall Street jobs to more, full-time restaurant?
Sure. Well, it's definitely a learning experience, on the investment side, right? The market, it opens and closes every day. So you're either I'd say, a genius or an idiot at 4 o'clock every day, right? Depending on how your portfolio did. With a brand, obviously it's a longer lead time. It's a slower process. So for me, it's definitely been a, part of a learning experience. One bad day doesn't really dictate the course of where this brand is going. So I think we've been very, just learning to be more methodical, and invest in the foundation of where we see growth headed. That's been a little bit, I think, of a different mindset versus on the investing side when you're dealing with public markets.
Have there been any mistakes in since you've been in the restaurant industry that you guys have maybe made that ended up being big learning experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've probably made them all, and I think it's fortunate that we did that prior to franchising. I think that when you create a great system that has robustness and is resilient, you only get there through a trial and error process where you unfortunately do make mistakes. You don't win a chess match without sacrificing any players. And we've gone down this road, and, through COVID, we had 2 mall locations that we permanently closed. And, as we grew quickly early on, we definitely kind of were behind the ball a little bit, in terms of making sure that every element of the business was consistent as we wanted. And so just going through that process was definitely a learning experience for everyone on the team. But I think like when you go through that just makes the team and the organization stronger when you get to the other side. And I feel like that's where we're at today.
We're big fans of publicly acknowledging people who have been influential for you. Are there some people in the industry that you respect and maybe you've looked to for advice or learned from?
I'd rather not name names. We have a circle of people around us. We have a great board of directors that with very deep restaurant industry experience, and we value them tremendously. And I think just as an organization, we obviously look to larger multi-unit brands, looking how they've scaled, how they've created company culture, how they've pursued their transformation, to the digital ecosphere. We're definitely a student when it comes to that. So I think a combination of just having, being surrounded by, a very dense restaurant market where we have the opportunity to observe a lot, and then having just a great team around our table in terms of board and advisory roles has been tremendous.
Hey, it's been great talking to you today, Micha. Where can people find out more about Mighty Quinn's, or maybe even more about franchise opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you want to get hungry, I would definitely check out our Instagram page. There's obviously a lot of food shots on that. It's at Mighty Quinn's BBQ. And then if you go to our website, there's actually a franchise link that will take you to our franchise development page. There's a lot of information on there. If someone wants to kind of take a look, read through that, they can also submit an inquiry, which comes to us directly, and then we'll get back in touch with them.
Yeah, you will get hungry. I was just looking at the pictures of the menu on your website, and it's not even 10 o'clock in the morning here, and I'm starved after looking at it. But hey, it's been great talking to you today, Micha. I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Chad.
Thanks. So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise25. Visit rise25.com to check out more episodes of the show and to learn more about how you can start your own podcast.